It's just sad to be making this video, kind of.
It's not the end, though. It's really not the end.
It's not the end. It's not the end. Hey, team. It has been a while since we have posted a video here on this channel. So today we are going to be giving you an update about what's going on and what is coming next.
So where have we been? Really, we've just been settling back into life here in Victoria, back on our yellow couch in this little space, which feels even more cozy now that we have Frankie in here with us. It's been really nice. I think when we were in Nanaimo, it was a big shift that we had talked about moving back here. And now that we're here, it feels like us as a family, we're finding our groove. Like Levi and Leah are finding a groove as like a couple who has a kid now in a way that we didn't get to do when we were in Nanaimo.
Leah has gone back to work. She is at the university twice a week teaching in person, and that has had a ripple effect where I am now having to be way more involved with Frankie's day-to-day life, and especially on those days. And it's great. I think we're really enjoying and settling into this life that we knew so well and we were so excited about before we left on that big trip. And now that we're coming back to it, I feel like we are more Levi and Leah than ever in some ways, but we are also completely different than we were before we left.
That's the Sparks notes of being parents. You're the same person, and yet that person is gone and you're a completely different person now. Honestly, it's been so nice. I did start teaching back in January, but that was online. So it was really nice to move back to Victoria and then to actually be at UVic, to be on campus and teaching. This is my first like in-person class, and I've taught like 6 classes before this one. And it's been so nice. Like, I feel like you are super hands-on with Frankie, obviously, as his other parent. But it's different when you're the only one looking after him, right? There's so much more that you have to carry in your mind around, like, the things you got to pack. What do you got to do? You know, what are we going to do with him? You know, what does he need in that moment? And so it's really beautiful watching your relationship with him really grow over the past few months. Like, you were always a good dad, but now you are just gaining so much confidence in that role. It's just beautiful, right? And to see, you know, in the mornings, there's this really lovely routine where, because I usually get up with Frankie in the night because I'm breastfeeding him and Levi can't do that, that around 6 when Frankie gets up, I sleep for another hour. And the two of them in this whole morning routine, like they go up to the rooftop and they like stretch and read books together. Like you have a whole special relationship with our son that's just the two of you, and I think
that we didn't have before.
No, and I think that's a really lovely thing about being here in our own space again, is that facilitated the two of you really getting into a groove.
So we've decided to go for a 50-50 parenting model. That's not an actual name for what we're doing, but
we're still workshopping it.
Yeah, we're trying to come up with a word for it because basically instead of taking full maternity leave or full paternity leave and the other person working full-time, we have both decided to work part-time in order to juggle childcare with our jobs simultaneously. And this is only possible because we are people who work weird jobs. Like I make content online, so I can kind of mold this job around whatever we need. And Leah's working basically 1 class, maybe 2 classes next semester to, you know, have a foot in the door for her career. So it's not like a complete freeze over of your career aspirations while you raise a kid. But still allowing for us to be both very involved in Frankie's day-to-day life. And I think it's the only way I would ever want to do it.
I think it's a huge privilege that we can do it. Like I know a lot of people, like financially, especially if you're living in a city or whichever else, like you need to have a breadwinner, if not both parents be breadwinners, just because that's the only way you can, you know, afford it. But because we don't have Frankie in daycare, like eventually we're going to work our way to that. But I just love hanging out with him. And I think it's really lovely that I don't know, I think living with our parents, living in the car, we were able to save a ton of money so that we actually have this option now. Like we didn't know it then, but we were building this little nest egg so that we could both work part-time.
That's super true.
And be with Frankie. And like what a gift that I know a lot of people don't get to have.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like weirdly, us having those two kind of unconventional years where we went and did something kind of different, living in the car, living with your parents, that like then facilitated further slightly out of the ordinary choices. Like we were able to move back into our apartment in the city. We were able to both work part-time while we take care of our kid because we spent 2 years with basically no costs. I mean, not no costs, but
very minimal, I think, than for a lot of people. And I think it was a good transition for us because up until that point, I think even in 2021 when we were living here the first time around, you and I were working way too much. Like I think about it now, I had was doing teaching my first class, doing my sexual health educator training, 2 postdoc positions. Like I think about that now and it was way too much. Yeah. And now, 3 years later to have my kid and be like, if I'm not with him, I better be doing something that I really am enjoying. And it's been a really nice balance, I think, for my mental health and for also just like my brain to be like, oh, right, I can do things that are different than, being a mom, being a really engaged parent. And so, it's been a lovely transition. So I'm glad that we took that time unknowingly to kind of transition out of that really like high pace productivity thing into we are going to live at our own pace and it's a bit slower. And that's just, I think, created so much more space for us to have Frankie in our life.
And for me, this has been kind of a challenging reality of realizing that I'm going to make less money. Like we are just going to make fewer dollars by working less and having to shift our perspective on that reality. Like it's not typical for people in their early 30s to slow down their careers and focus on something else. Like this is supposed to be kind of a really intense push period where people are leveling up,
Yeah, but I think a part of it is that, yes, but particularly if you're a man, right? And if you're a woman and you decide to have a kid, it's such a weird dynamic of, like we go to so many parks. We are exploring all different parts of Victoria we didn't know before. We bring Frankie there. And I'm meeting these parents from all different walks of life. And so often for parents who are career motivated, it does feel like you have to give up something in order to have a kid. Mm-hmm. Or alternatively, you need to make money, so you need to give up being with your kid all of the time. And so the fact that we have both taken on work and both slowed down our work, it feels a lot more equitable across like gender parity as well. I think as parents, it's so easy. If you're in, like it's a mom and dad raising a kid, I think it's really easy to get into like who's a default parent. Yeah. And the last few months has, I think, really shifted that dynamic.
And it's been hard. I won't say that this has been super easy because I think we got into kind of a groove, or I got into a groove with your parents in particular, where you were the primary caregiver and they were there a lot of the time, like
especially my mom.
Yeah, there was and my parents, when we stayed with them too, there was always another responsible adult or two to make sure that I was able to get all the work done that I needed to get done. And now I'm the other parent, and that has really just meant that I got to prioritize him in a bunch of ways that I didn't have to before, and that's tough. That's challenging for me to sort of accept that I'm not the center of my own universe all the time. And that it kind of explains why we haven't maybe made as much progress on the trailer, and why we haven't been posting as much content here in long form.
I think it's one of those things where we've had to balance a lot of things this last year, and I'm really proud of where we are now as parents. But the thing that has suffered, because you can't do it all,
No.
is this channel, which is sad, and the trailer build, because we were like, okay, what can become a lower priority in order for us to do the really important things? And unfortunately, that was the thing that was the easiest, and it's still a really like beautiful and worthwhile project, but I think it was really starting to stress out your parents and you and us in general. I don't know if you want to talk a bit more about that.
Yeah. So the trailer project is not going to be completed, obviously, within this year. Our plan now is to finish the trailer for next summer, because it was just getting way too stressful. It was a really intense project to take on at any point in my life. Like I think, because it was ultimately me. Like I really pushed for this, and it was kind of the first real divergence away from Levi and Leah as a channel. Like if you look at the name Levi and Leah, that trailer project had nothing to do with Leah.
I think when I was pregnant, I was still involved with it.
You were trying your best.
I was, but even then we were realizing like my capacity for it wasn't great. And so in some ways it eased us out of it, but I think it really became Levi and trailer and Leah and Frankie.
Yeah,
right?
and I think I felt torn because we didn't want to document our pregnancy and like Frankie's life. We
documented part of it, but we didn't want that to become the full scope of the channel, right?
So the trailer felt like it was the way to document something and share our life, but through a subject that wasn't our day-to-day, that would maybe like insulate him somewhat. And that wasn't the right call.
I think when we originally were thinking about the trailer, because we bought it, we were like in Ontario when we originally bought it. We weren't even back in British Columbia yet, finishing our road trip. I was, I don't know, like 18 weeks pregnant or something. And I remember us having this conversation that we loved the Prius road trip and doing kind of travel content, but we were coming home. We were going to have a child, and what were we going to do? And Levi was like, look, I obviously still need to have a job. So the trailer was a way of buying a job so that you could stay in one place for longer. So I think on paper, it made a ton of sense.
Yeah,
and originally you were going to do it in Nanaimo. And then when it became more and more apparent that I wasn't going to be able to help you at all. So being in Nanaimo was the right call, because in order for us to stay afloat, having my parents there was essential. Having your parents come down was great. And then realizing that actually this trailer project had to happen in your parents' shop. We just didn't have the tools or the experience to do it without them. Yeah. But then it became
it became their project.
It did.
Guy but on my terms, weirdly, because
I mean, you get to like pay for it, which is nice. But I think it's really like hijacked part of their life. Totally. And they, of course, they want to. Like, you're their child. They love us, and they want to help us. And I think they've gotten a lot of joy out of it. And
we have grown as a family around the project. Like, it has pushed us to communicate more, to be involved in each other's lives more than we ever would have.
Oh, we were up there with Frankie, I think way more than we would have before.
Way more, definitely.
Yeah, it was a good impetus, and for us to realize, we can travel with our young child, especially if we're going to like basically our other home. We can do that. Yeah.
But it really took a toll on my parents, and especially because we had signed a contract with Battleborn, which is the company that provided all the batteries for the build. There's like $11,000 worth of battery technology in that trailer right now. And one of the contractual obligations was a install video that we had to produce. And then we have to do a completed build tour with their batteries featured in the final product. And I love Battleborn. They've been great to work with. They've actually been really flexible when I said that we were not able to complete this within the contractual timeline that we had agreed to. They were like, that's fine. Just, publish it when you can within reason. And I said, how about next year? They were like, okay. Sure.
I will say the thing about this trailer, and I think any project that your parents take on, is that it's going to be done so well. Yes. But that takes a lot of time. It's a lot of, like, the things that you see in the video of what's going on is like not even like 1% of all of the planning and prep and conversations and everything else that goes on around that. And already in the videos, you see like all three of you are working so hard. Yeah. So it's been great that you were able to do it. You did that install video, but it's going to be a little while before we get to do the full trailer reveal.
Yeah, guys, I don't know how much clearer I can spell it out. Renovating a trailer is a terrible idea. If you have a trailer plan in your mind and you think that this is what you're going to do, don't do it.
Unless that's your full-time. You have no other job.
Yes, and you're very talented.
And you're very talented.
And you have a lot of money.
I think that's the thing, is that we follow people like Eamon and Beck. And Eamon is astounding, the skills that man has.
Incredible.
And like, we knew that watching their content, but now having done it ourselves, I say you and your parents having done it yourselves, you're like, oh man, they make it look so easy, but it is so much work. Oh my goodness.
We're city people, and we're not like handy city people either. Like,
we're soft. And I'm like, I want to talk to people about sexuality. You know, like that's what I really do. I'm not here for figuring out I was going to say electronic. I'm like, it's not even an electrical build. I can't.
That's why she's not involved in the trailer. And for me too, and I knew that the only people who I knew in my life who were stupid enough to take on this project with me, who had the knowledge and the skill set to actually help it come to reality, were my parents. And it's just pushed them too much. They're retired. They don't want to be working as much as they are working on this project. It's put a lot of strain on them, and I have tried multiple times to stop the project.
Or to hire people to do certain things. Absolutely.
It's been a really intense experience, and right now our plan is to get it done in the simplest and most effective way that we can by next summer. And that's going to be a feat. Like even just getting it done within that amount of time is going to be a real challenge. And it's going to cost more than double what we thought it was going to cost, and it's going to take double the amount of time. And at the end of it, hopefully we have a really, really cool tool and a toy that we can go and have fun with. But it has been, just a very stressful experience, to say the least. And bailing on the project, at least in a timeline sense, like pushing it back as far as we possibly can, is the only way that we have been able to relax enough to enjoy our life here in Victoria, become parents, get into a routine.
Yeah, your parents going on a trip. They're on a trip right now. And I'm like,
they wouldn't be.
No, they wouldn't be. But like, just for fun. It's like, absolutely. That's what you should be doing. You're retired. But it's also before, like, we would go up and visit them, and we would have really lovely times together, but the trailer was always the impetus. And so the last few times we were up there, Frankie and I were really figuring out our own groove, like things that we would go to, because the three of you were really involved in the trailer. And of course, like, we would hang out as a family, and that was another big component. We would have
dinner or whatever, but the rest of the time we were working.
Yeah, exactly, right? And many times Levi's gone up there by himself. And so that's meant, since we've been here, it's only been 1 week that I've been here with Frankie by myself. But other times, at least, I was with my family. But it's a lot. It's a lot to ask. And when you spend like that amount of time with our kid, because he's the freaking best, he changes so fast, like even a week, it's wild the things that he will experience during that time. And so it was a right call for our family to like slow it down. And so when next time we're up visiting your parents, the trailer will be a part of it, but only part of it. The rest of it will just be like us spending time as a family.
And so where does that leave the channel going forward? It's a big question that we have been grappling with for a long time, and we said that we would shut down the channel at the end of September, and by the time this goes live, it will be the beginning of October. And so, this is the last sort of formal upload that we are going to be making here with any kind of regularity. You might be seeing some updates on our life over the next year or two. You know, we may go on a trip with the trailer once it's finished. You will be seeing, you know, maybe a build video or two from the trailer, but you won't be seeing regularly scheduled long form content here. But you might see short form content, as we've sort of alluded to earlier. Just to try and get back in the groove of things, I've been making some short form vertical content that I've posted, some of them here on YouTube, but mostly on Instagram and TikTok, to kind of get back into the Levi and Leah groove, like talking about our life, talking about the way that we choose to live our life, talking about the choices that we make and why. And that's been really nice. It's been like an homage to the roots of this channel and what we started out with. And the reception has been nice. It's been great to sort of see the community that we have come back and see them all in the comment section again.
I think that's a thing that's, I don't know, kind of makes me feel sad. Again, it's not the end. We want to share parts of our life. And as Frankie gets older, we don't want to, you know, we want to be respectful of like his privacy and boundaries and stuff as well. But we miss you, right? Like I miss making content for you in response to your questions and your thoughts and how supportive you have all been. We couldn't live this life that we live without all of you. So in some ways, it's been really lovely that Levi has been making this short form content. It feels very a la Save the World Hildebrand, like really back to the roots. And I'm in it. I still feel like a fun like little side character again. But it's interesting. My character arc has been like a kind of an equal partner, and then kind of back down to the quirky kind of sidekick character. And
which is, I think, comfortable for you. Yeah,
and when we were in the road trip, I loved that I had the time and capacity to dedicate to doing that content together.
Be totally Levi and Leah.
Yeah, but really, I think I enjoy it, but I don't have the capacity for it anymore. You know, like
you're not a social media person.
I know.
Leah's the perfect person to be a social media giant, because she's utterly uninterested in being famous online. Like, all the followers that she has on Instagram or whatever, it doesn't affect her. She does not need it in any way. You know, this is the leader that you elect because she's forced into the position.
I always really want to, you know? We've had so many aspirational conversations of like, okay, we're going to revamp the podcast. Let's give it a new name. Or, you know, you're going to create just exclusively sexual health content. And it's interesting. Like in the middle of the night, I'll literally be feeding Frankie and thinking about my class and what I'm going to teach them. And I never had that with what I was going to post online.
No.
And I think it's because that person-to-person thing is really where I thrive. That's what I love. And so I love this, but I don't have the drive to do it anymore. You know, I just can't.
Yeah. So you won't be seeing a ton of Leah. It's going to be mostly Levi if you do see content on here. I hope that that's okay. But Leah will be involved, and she'll be there in the ways that Leah has always been there. And whatever level or capacity you have been here, we appreciate you. It means the world to us. And hopefully you're still here, because we're going to keep posting shorts. We're going to, be updating everybody on Instagram. And when we do finish this trailer, we are going to post it here on this channel. And
y'all are going to know about it.
And you are going to know the unbelievable relief that I will feel when that video is live. Like, I want you to just breathe in and just imagine the relief that I will be experiencing. Because it'll be over. The trailer will be over.
You're almost like delirious, like even thinking about it.
It's making me anxious just thinking about it. Oh my God.
No.
All right. No.
I will say though, I've really enjoyed this. This felt like little mini podcast thing.
I
was like, oh, I forgot how much I enjoy doing this. And this is what happens. I keep being like, I forgot how much I enjoy making social media content. And then I go a week or two and I'm like, oh, effort, work. No.
We love talking to you. We love being a part of this community with you. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you around. We really will. And yeah.
If you're around Victoria, come say hi. We've already said hello to a bunch of people who come up and be like, oh, I'm sorry if this is weird, but are you Levi and Leah? Or a lot of people recognizing Levi from Future Proof. A lot of people, which has been really cool. But come say hi. You know, we're friendly. If you see us, you know, you just come approach us. We would love to see you out in the wild. IRL.
All right, y'all. We love you. Thank you. And we'll talk to you soon.